Okay, we got the Chevelle back in the shop. It's been in my storage for a little while now, and I pushed it in here thinking that I was ready to drop the motor in. And every time I think that, I find something that I should probably do outside of the car rather than trying to do it inside the car. For instance, our power steering pump bracket has to be drilled into the block. Now, I think most aluminum blocks come with this drilled and tapped already from factory, but the cast iron blocks do not. So what I've got to do is get the bracket where I want it, start my pilot hole, or my pilot, which I've already got here. And once I find a happy spot, then I'm going to drill it and tap it for an M10 bolt. After that, I may I may put the water pump on, I may put a couple other little things on here just so I don't have to do it inside the car. So I'm gonna drill this, I'm gonna get that guy on there, and then we'll drop it in. All right, guys, so as you've seen in the time lapse, we got these heads sitting on here. I got the head bolts, studs all torqued down, and I was starting to do push rods and rockers, and then I figured I should at least check the push rod length, because while the heads got repaired, they milled 8 thousandths off the deck surface of the head. So that's not a whole lot, but I figured I should at least check. And luckily, we're still good on our push rod length, so we're within our spec. So now I can throw the push rods and rockers on, put the valve covers on. I want to try to get everything I can on this engine before I put the engine in the car. And I just don't want to lean over the car as much as possible. So I'm going to get this thing buttoned up, get these rockers, push rods in, valve covers, the sensors I already put in. I may throw the water pump on, but I may just wait for that. So let's do it. We got her up in the air, and I'm just kind of checking over the bell housing and the engine just to make sure that I don't have nothing sandwiched or smashed in there, nothing that's unhappy. I usually put the motor in and check this before I do anything else. Last thing you want to do is take everything back apart because you smashed something in between the bell housing and the block. So first things first, we'll just check this stuff out. Uh-oh, maybe I forgot my torque converter spacer. Uh-oh, I actually might have to come back out. Super close call on that. I had seen on the torque converter snout like a clean mark from where it was riding in the crank, but I thought there was supposed to be a spacer in there for a second. I got really scared, thought I was about to have to take this whole thing apart. Because I had this one sitting up here on my shelf, and I was like, uh-oh, maybe that has to go in, but luckily it doesn't. All I have to do is slide the converter forward. Kind of, I don't know if you've seen it, but all I had to do is slide forward, and that snout rides inside the crank with no spacer, so we're good to go. It's been a long, drawn-out process. We had to wait for some parts. Of course, we had to wait for the heads, and just more recently, I got the motor together and put it in the car, but I had to wait for a extension harness for the cam sensor, and also I had to wait for new bolts for the blower. And Justin's here now. He helped me get this blower on and bolted down, Loctited to spec, and Justin's going over the tune right now, which seems to be kind of butchered up from whoever touched it last. So we're gonna go over that. We're gonna put our old tune back on this car, and then hopefully build some oil pressure. Justin's done doing his tuning deal, and we're gonna work on firing this thing up to get oil pressure. So I think we're ready. Ready when you are, Justin.
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole. There we go. Woo! I forgot the headers are a little loose. I got to tighten them. No, O2. Oh, that's, yeah, O2 sensor's not plugged in. Maybe we ought to get under there and check a couple things out. God damn, that fuel pump is loud. So if it ain't one thing, it's another with this. We got it running and then it died. And then it started backfiring out of the exhaust. And just like the Cutlass, we knew exactly what caused that. That was the cam sensor. And like I've stated before a few times on this car, we went from a Gen 3 to a Gen 4 motor. I had to buy a cam extension harness, but with the Gen 3 computer harness, they run a 12-volt sensor power, and a Gen 4 runs a 5-volt sensor power. And we fried the cam sensor there. So we ran up to Justin's house, grabbed another cam sensor, put it in there, and you actually have to take the 2 wires on the sensor. I'll show you here. One on this side and one on the other side, and switch them around. Those have to be switched around when you do this swap from a Gen 3 to a Gen 4. So it was a lot of messing around, but we were able to get it fixed. And on the harness, we repinned the 12-volt source and made it a 5-volt source. So we got that fixed, so it should never do this again. We just drove the car, and man, it rode smooth, it ran great. It drives nice. So Justin's making a few more changes to the tune. We're gonna throw the hood on this thing, and then I'm gonna give it a bath just because I feel guilty that it's dusty and dirty. Don't look like it on camera, but it's dirty, so I'm gonna clean it. So we had to go pick the S10 up from getting alignment, which gave us a pretty good excuse to drive the Chevelle around and get it tuned. So Justin's back there with a big ass smile on his face. So we're gonna do a little cruising. It's a beautiful day.